Good afternoon and welcome. I'm so glad you're here with us today for our second Fireside Chat. I'm Brian Buford. I work at the Employee Success Center, and I'm so honored to be a part of this conversation with our President Kim Schatzel and two very special guests that we're going to introduce you to in just a minute. President Schatzel created these Fireside Chats as an opportunity for all of us as a campus community to hear from our leaders, really, folks who are working incredibly hard, but often behind the scenes, doing very important work for the university. We don't always get to hear what they're thinking about and working on and proud of, and so these conversations have been a chance to do that. I'm really excited about it. This is the kind of culture that we're creating at UofL, a culture of transparent communication, where we talk to each other, where we ask important questions, where we have the chance to engage and learn from one another. So to that end, the questions today that we're going to be addressing have come from all of you, which is incredible. You've been submitting questions over the last few weeks, and we've appreciated them so much. Those questions will create the basis for our conversation. Now, we got a lot of questions, you all, and we'll not have time to answer every single one of them, so I want to acknowledge that up front. If you asked a question that we don't get to answer, and you provided us with your name, we're going to have the appropriate university leader respond directly to you with an answer so that you'll hear back from us. So that's how we'll do that. And then we'll save the rest of the questions for a future Fireside Chat when we have other leaders here who may be in a position to answer those. I have one more special treat here. This is something we're doing for the first time in this Fireside Chat, and that is you can also ask questions live during this hour. Really excited about that. You'll see on the screen here a QR code, and you can just open that QR code, ask your question, post it, and then if we have time, we don't know if we'll have time or not, but if we do, we'll take that question and we'll just answer it live in the session today. So today we're going to focus pretty specifically on DEI and community engagement. I just want to say thank you to all of you who asked questions about those topics and a range of other topics that I hope we'll get to in a future session. So let's get started. I'm so glad. President Schatzel, thank you for creating this
thank you, Brian,
space.
So much for providing your leadership and support, and we're really excited about doing this again and making it a regular part of our communications that we have. Communications back and forth.
Yes,
so to be able to have us be responsive to what the community wants to learn more about. That's and to hear from them, it's a terrific opportunity. So thank you.
Well, thank you for creating it. This has been an amazing experience for people to have these conversations and to listen in. So I appreciate you. I want to just introduce our special guests here. This is a dream team, you all. Vice President for Community Engagement, Douglas Craddock. Welcome, Douglas. Glad to have you. Vice President for Institutional Equity, Lee Gill.
Thank you, Brian.
Lee,
Pleasure.
I appreciate you all being here.
Pleasure.
We got a lot to talk about, you all.
Yes, we do.
We do. And I want to say also thank you. We don't always take time to thank our leaders. And I know that what we're going to hear about today is just the tip of the iceberg of the things that you all are doing all the time behind the scenes, making the university the great place that it is. And so I just appreciate the opportunity for you to come and talk to us. President Schatzel, we're going to start with you. This has, how can I say it? It's an action-packed year that we've just had. You've just finished your first full academic year at UofL. I believe commencement is this weekend.
Yep, really excited. Got some photos in front of the Thinker with some families and graduates.
So
it was fun this coming over.
I bet you did. Yes, so those students are going to be crossing the stage this weekend, celebrating. I'm wondering, what are you reflecting on as you look back on this year, your first full academic year?
Well, I always tell people that you need to go through a full academic year to be able to get an experience, because we're so seasonal. So I had the opportunity, of course, to be able to have move-in for the first time, to be able to see students coming to campus. be able to participate in the Grawemeyer Awards, to be able to do the celebration of that you participate and lead in terms of recognition of our faculty and staff, have commencement to be able to do that. It was our second time to be able to be in the legislature, to be able to talk with the governor and talk with the legislative leaders in the Kentucky General Assembly in terms of our wants and needs, to be able to do that, and really just get a chance to be able to start working together and advance strategic goals and efforts that we want to do. And I'm blessed with some really terrific leaders. Two of them are sitting on both sides of me right now. So to be able to have the opportunity for the community to get to know them better, and not just them, but their teams. They just have spectacular teams that are doing the noble work every single day. So when Trevor and I have fallen in love with the university and fallen in love with Louisville, and we've been warmly embraced by it. So it's been a great year. It really has.
That's wonderful. Your second Derby in Louisville.
My second Derby, and as I've shared, we didn't do well except my 3-year-old grandson won because he bet on the 3-horse.
Smart.
It's it works,
strategy.
Right? It sure
it's
does.
As good as anything I've ever come up with. So that's awesome. Well, one of the highlights of this year, or certainly something we've been talking a lot about, is a very challenging legislative session. Certainly for me, as I think about higher ed, one of the we were a focus in many ways of this legislative session. And so, what are you reflecting on as you think back on that, and maybe what are you thinking about as we move ahead?
Yeah, so the two issues that we look at in a legislative session are issues that can affect policies that the General Assembly can bring forward, and also just budget, both operating as well as capital. So let me first talk about budget in terms of capital and operating budget. We had a historic year in terms of being able to do that. We had our largest state appropriation ever in the history of the university itself, almost $450 million. So it was very successful, both in terms of capital as well as we received funding, which was very important, almost $300 million for the Health Sciences Campus new building there that we're going to bring up. That's going to be research and instruction. We also got additional monies for asset preservation, almost to the tune of $90 million. And if you're driving around, you can see the Nat Sci building, and you can see speed being worked on, as well as some other work being done in the library. So you see those renovations going on that were much needed for the campus. I always talk about that type of funding presenting the fact that the legislature has confidence in us. It's truly an inflection point in the fact that to be able to make that kind of investment in the University of Louisville is a recognition of the impact that we make on not just the city of Louisville, but the region as well as the entire Commonwealth. And we're an anchor institution. We make a great impact at all levels: economic development, cultural. I tell people, the teachers, the engineers, the business people, the preachers, the nurses, the doctors, the police officers, the firefighters, they're coming from this campus. So, we are your neighbors. And we are people that we work with in our community. So I was really, really pleased to see the recognition and the support from both the governor as well as President Stivers, Speaker Osborne, Senator McDaniels, as well as Representative Petrie. So it was across the board, and I really enjoyed doing that. The two policy issues that we had, and probably the one that was most talked about, was the legislature that we were looking at in terms of DEI, which would have placed limitations on our ability to be able to support inclusive student success. I spent a lot of time with the legislator and with legislative leaders talking about that. I've shared the fact that one of the things that we were asked to be able to do was to fill out a form that asked, how much money do you spend on DEI? And all of the universities were asked to do that through CPE. And one of the conversations that we had, and in fact we actually responded this way, is where we said it was indeterminate. That we could not fill that out because of the fact, are you including veterans? Are you including Pell eligible? Are you including refugees? Are you including students that are have disability? So describe to me what you're including in DEI. Because the way that we look at it is the fact that this is a big house that we're looking at in terms of diverse and inclusive success on our campus, both for our students and for our employees. So we responded that way to the legislature. And I have to tell you, I was really pleased with the dialogue that we had with legislative leaders to be able to expand the conversation and really talk about the numbers of groups and the numbers of people and the numbers of populations that DEI on a campus favorably impacts and supports that kind of success. I mean, I said that 85% of the students on our campus at some level are impacted through those efforts. I just came from a ribbon cutting at the at our Center for Military Connected Students. 2,300 students on the campus. We've grown that population by 30%. That's a DEI effort.
Absolutely.
And it shows tremendous success to do that. So, I have to say the dialogue was very, very productive.
Yes.
I had the chance to talk with legislative leaders. They asked great questions when we were able to do that. So I really appreciated the opportunity to talk with many of them. And we were fortunate in the fact that there was no legislature that limited our efforts in those areas.
Yes.
Correct.
Such a relief.
Yeah.
Speaking of great questions, someone submitted a question, Lee, that I thought you could take for us.
Absolutely.
And the question is, here at UofL, how do we define diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and who's included in that definition in your mind?
Yeah, great question. I'd like to start off at something that Dr. Schatzel had begun with, and that was first thanking our outstanding faculty, staff on our campus. I mean, certainly going through the legislative process, and prior to that with the Supreme Court ruling regarding affirmative action, our staff have they've had some challenges with certain of these decisions, but they have steadfast. They've done outstanding work. They've continued to do their work. Each and every day they've come to their jobs, whether it's on the HSC campus or at the Belknap campus, and continue to ensure that all of their efforts are focused towards student success. So when you ask the question regarding how we define DEI, it is many of the things that the President has already enunciated. First off, we look at diversity and inclusion in a holistic fashion, which is what we've been doing all along. The fact that when you look at socioeconomic diversity, you look at generational diversity, you look at ideologies, you look at different ethnicities, you look at diversity of thought. Ours is a focus on our faculty and staff and students coming to our campus, no matter their backgrounds, their experiences, they are included in the process of what we call DEI. The unfortunate thing is that DEI, and I heard our governor say this several weeks ago, unfortunately has gotten a bad name because of misinformation. And often over these last several weeks and months, when the President had an opportunity to meet with the legislators and explain the broadness of what DEI actually is, you should have saw some of the looks on their faces. The realization, oh, I'm not aware that we're talking about generational diversity, or we're talking about rural students versus urban students. As you mentioned, Pell eligible first generation. I'm a first generation. I know the President is as well. Got on a first gen pen. I come from a very rural part of South Bend, Indiana. I know by the time that I showed up on campus at the University of Michigan, I was not equipped or ready. But there were folks who were like in our multicultural center, folks who are in other programs that were able to wrap their arms around me as we wrap our arms around students to ensure that all groups, no matter what their experience, they're included in wanting to make them better and live up to their full potential.
I really appreciate that. And I always say inclusion and belonging is about everybody.
Everybody.
Everyone
Absolutely.
benefits. Every person benefits when we focus on inclusion and belonging. So I appreciate you saying that.
Absolutely.
I also really appreciate the shout out to the folks in your unit,
Yes.
the amazing, hardworking
Very
people
much so.
who, I'm sure this was a difficult year of worrying about the work that they do and being concerned. So I just want to send them some
Absolutely.
love today
Absolutely.
as well. Yes.
Yeah, and I would want to also give the President some love too, because she actually met with my staff
Oh, good.
during this process and had conversations with them and talked to them about no one's losing their position.
Yes.
We're going to move forward, but we're going to ensure that everything that we do is focused on student success.
Yes.
And that's what we've been doing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, President Schatzel, I think the probable reality is that legislation might be back the next legislative session. How are we preparing for that?
You know, I don't want to forecast what could happen to be able to do that. This is not something that, student success is something we do every day.
Every day.
And if you look at the strategic plan, it's a key aspect of our strategic plan. So this isn't something that we're going to put to the side. The impact that we do in terms of being able to support all of our students is going to continue because it's part of who we are from a strategic from a strategic goal. So we'll continue the conversation to be able to do that. You know, I've been very conscious of the fact that I think dialogue is the way to be able to manage this. Some people wanted to have me issue more statements in terms of being able to do that. I have found the fact that really having those conversations with legislators and with their staffers to be able to understand what their questions might be and then be responsive. I also have to share the fact that give a big shout out to Aaron Thompson, who's the president of CPA, because to understand the fact that we work together, all the university presidents and all the universities worked together this past year, both in terms of the budget as well as policy issues. So we coordinate through CPE, which is the Council of Post-Secondary Education. Aaron, serving as the president, was an outstanding spokesperson for all of us in all of these areas. And did an absolutely phenomenal job. So we'll continue as we do every year to be able to work together and with CPE and on campus to be able to advocate for what we believe is the right path to continued success in higher education in the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Yeah, it feels like one of those tip of the iceberg. What we see is just a little bit of what's actually going on behind the scenes all year to be in conversation, to build these relationships that protect our efforts. So that's something I really appreciate you talking about a little bit here today. Now, Lee, I wanted to ask you, you changed the name of the division to better reflect its mission this last year, I think. Will you talk a little bit about that and why you did that?
Absolutely, and I appreciate the question. Shortly after our new president joined us, we were actually at a senior leadership team meeting, and we were having discussions around wanting to centralize our efforts from the HSC campus with our DEI as well as the Belknap campus and bringing them closer together and kind of break down some of the silos. And as we were discussing that, we talked about what title of your office better situates itself for the overall arching focus of all of what we're doing here on our campus, because we do a lot. We have the Office of Diversity and Inclusion on the HSC campus led by Dr. Faye Jones.
Yes.
We have the Belknap campus, our Culture and Equity Center led by Marion Vassar.
Yes.
So we do and Title IX, which has just joined our division. So what's going to really send the message? And we made a decision that in everything we do on this campus, it's about fairness. It's about equity. Whether you're faculty, staff, or student, we're going to treat you in a very fair and inclusive manner. So thus, the institutional equity division came into being. So I'm very pleased with that, but we still have a number of different titles all throughout the university that focus on specific areas, so we're not giving that up. But what we will do is we'll ensure that our job descriptions, often when you develop job descriptions, you just think about this and this, these kind of responsibilities. But our jobs and the roles that our people play are really focused on student success. Yes. So what we're going to do is to engage in ensuring that we're sending the message through our descriptions. Student success is the ultimate goal of every role within our division, and focusing on equity.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, again, your office serves everyone.
Yeah.
Equity, fairness is about every single person at the university, right?
Absolutely.
I know you are in the process of working on a strategic plan for
Yes.
institutional equity, and I have a lot of questions.
Yes.
What will it look like? When will we get to see it?
Okay.
And one in particular, Lee, that I'm interested in is how are you incorporating the recommendations of the Cardinal Anti-Racist Agenda into that strategic plan?
Thank you. As you well know, there were so many people who worked on the CARA report.
Yes.
I think the numbers were up around 130 some people over a very short period of time that really developed some amazing focused recommendations. And when Kim joined us, one of the first things she said as she charged us with developing a strategic plan is making sure that the CARA report actually informs the strategic plan so that this great work done by so many people is going to be embedded into the overall strategic plan of the university. So we're excited about that. Also, I will say that our strategic planning process has been led by some great people out of our office. Diane Whitlock,
Yes.
I think most all of us know.
Yes.
She's our Assistant Vice President for Strategic Initiatives. She's led a team meeting with stakeholders across this university, from faculty senate, student government, staff senate, CODRA, COSWA. You name every stakeholder group on our campus has been met with.
Yes.
Notes have been taken, recommendations. I will not begin to tell you the number of recommendations that have been shared. I showed them to the president last week, and she said, our eyes kind of got lit up a little bit. And we realized we're going to take those recommendations. We can't do everything, because our goal is we'll lay out what we'll do for the first year, the second year, the third year, and by the time we're going into the fourth or fifth year, we'll then determine if there's any changes that need to be made. But the goal of the overall strategic plan for this university as it relates to diversity is to, number one, tied to the university's strategic plan, and number two, tied to the various plans that each of our diversity practitioners have developed within their own colleges and universities. So it's an exciting time at the university. It's an exciting time for the team that's been working on the strategic plan. So I just can't wait to share it with the president and at least the penultimate goal, and with the board of trustees. Yeah.
So part of people, a lot of people know that I spent 20 years in business before I became an academic, and I'm a believer in management by objectives.
Yes.
And so the development of this plan was actually one of Lee's annual objectives, and it's actually one of mine. So the board is holding me accountable, and I'm working with him to hold the organization accountable to complete this strategic plan. And you know, when we're getting close to the very end, being able to do that, it'll be presented to the board. We're going to review it at a board meeting. It will be public. It will then be operationalized, meaning the fact that, okay, to advance this strategic plan, what do we get done this upcoming year? What do we get done in year two? It's a living, breathing document as we go through. I always like to be able to say that as well. But we're excited because of the fact that it actually supports the overall university strategic plan as well.
It does.
So the
Absolutely.
work has been tremendous that's been put into this. And so I'm really excited about with that, being able to come to that end point and start operationalizing and implementing it.
I think there are folks watching this chat today who are going to be so glad to hear that the work of the Cardinal Anti-Racist Agenda, CARA,
It was
CARA
important.
is
It was
informing.
important. It was important.
They're, you know this, like incredibly passionate, hardworking folks who spend a lot of time, who I know are going to be so grateful to know that that work is being used and it's carrying us forward. So I want to thank those folks who did that.
They did a lot of
important
work.
They did a lot of work.
A lot of work.
It's much appreciated.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And for the time that I arrived here, one of the first things that I heard, and I know you all heard it, I know the president heard it. What are you going to do with that CARA report?
Yes.
And so I think now we have our response.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Lee, I know there's some, we think about student success and how we define it. I know you've got some promising updates on how we're doing there, especially the success of Black and Latinx students. What do you want to say about that to us?
Well, first off, I got to give a lot of credit to our provost. Our provost working with his team, Jim Bagani, and the folks over in enrollment management, they literally are tracking this every day. And literally can tell you what those numbers look like on a daily basis. And frankly, we have some amazing, great news. We are up in our enrollment numbers for African underrepresented minorities. I think we're coming in like about 3.7% overall in underrepresented minorities. Higher. And when we look at our black students on campus, we're up around 13.1%. That's great. We're up around, I think it's like 12 or so percent with Latinx. So there's some great numbers.
Wow.
And that we can be very proud of how our enrollment management people have been working.
That's amazing. I'm so glad to hear that. Any other accomplishments you want to mention, Lee? We have a few minutes before we talk to Douglas here.
Absolutely.
Yep.
One of the things that I am extremely pleased about was coming to campus and once again mentioning the provost. We were able, with the provost's support and help, to establish the Inclusion and Equity Council across this university, which every dean has appointed someone to the council. Every vice president has appointed someone to the council. Doug, community engagement, sits on the council. But not only that, also from the CARA report, there was a recommendation that we needed to engage more in the community and informing the community as to what was taking place here at the university. And so we have community members that actually sit on the University of Louisville's Inclusion Council, Urban League, NAACP, Americana, La Casita, and the list goes on, Jewish Family Services. So it's an opportunity, one, for the community to inform us of what's going on, and it's an opportunity for us as a university to inform the community. So it's an exciting group, and I'm very excited. It's chaired by Jerry Bradley, our provost, and myself. So you have the provost sitting right there, listening to what the community is saying, listening to what the university is saying. So I'm very excited about that. And I guess the final thing that I would say in terms of an accomplishment is we're rolling out in August 28th, Cardinals Rising, which is a new pathway program where we will begin to work with designated schools, thanks to Doug's help in community engagement, signature partner schools, and focus beginning to work with these young students from the 8th grade until they graduate from high school, focusing to bringing them here to the University of Louisville. We just hired a director of Cardinals Rising. I think many of us know. His name is DeQuarius Mahone. I understand you and your husband ran into him yesterday morning coming up the elevator.
He's telling me he's doing his comps.
He's doing this, exactly. So we're
is great.
excited about Cardinals Rising, a pathway program. So on August 28th, Jeffrey Canada, who I think many folks know in education, Harlem's Children's Zone school system. He will be here as our keynote speaker for the President's Forum on Inclusive Excellence. And we'll roll it out at that time. So we're excited.
That's wonderful. Yes.
The one thing that I wanted to point out that Lee talked about is the fact that, for me, and I'll sound like an academic, the focal dependent variable that we deal with is student success. And, we're looking to be able to bring our overall student success rate, meaning 6-year graduation rate, to 70%. We've made improvements in there, taking a look at persistence, meaning from fall to spring, from first year to second year to third year, not just in overall rate, but we're looking at 2.5% to 3.5% increases in some of those numbers. So great progress in a very short period of time, but also to be able to make sure that we don't have completion gaps between these population groups. And unfortunately, nationally, when you're taking a look at 6-year graduation rates, when you're dealing with Pell-eligible Black and Latinx students, there can be anywhere between a 5 to a 15% gap between the overall population and those subgroups. So, as Lee talked about, we're looking at the fact that the closure of those gaps on our campus actually exceeds
Yes.
the overall gains that we're seeing. So that is inclusive student
That's
success.
inclusive. Absolutely.
And
Amazing.
to commend Lee's team with it, the provost team, the advisors, just across the board to be able to look at inclusive student success. I've said this, you can do all you want around institutional equity, DEI, but if you're seeing completion gaps between demographic groups, we're not getting the results we want.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
those are outstanding outcomes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you for that. Lee, don't get too comfortable.
Okay.
We're coming back to you in a minute. I've got more questions for you
My
later.
very good friend Doug over there.
We're going to shift a little bit now to community engagement. This is a good moment, though, if you joined us late, to say to you, there's a QR code on the screen. If you want to submit questions live, we're accepting them. Just open up that code, submit your question. We're going to see if we have time. So hopefully we'll have a few minutes left to answer a few of those questions. But we have now got to have a conversation with you, Douglas Craddock. I appreciate you being here and the work you do. So let's start. UofL is one of the nation's first city-owned public universities, which means we're uniquely connected to the community. We're one of fewer than 80 universities in the United States to earn recognition as both an R1 and a community engaged university. And yet, all that being said, I think you and your team are unsung heroes in many ways. You're driving this important work forward, but we don't always know about it. So I'm so glad you're here to talk to us a little bit. Doug, would you just talk about how you define community engagement and what your team is doing to connect us?
Yeah, sure thing. So thank you. Pleasure to be here for sure. And the unsung heroes, I think, has a lot of truth to it. We have an office made up of individuals that have been at the university for more than 20, 30, 40 years. Yes. And the work that they do is not only impactful, but it's life-changing, and day in and day out. So when we look at community engagement in its most purest form, it's literally the mutual beneficial relationship between the university and the community for the benefit of the work that we do. As we know, community engagement, it enhances the academic quality at the institution. It provides the chance for individuals not only to be engaged, to make life-changing opportunities for the community. So when we think about community engagement, it's an opportunity that anybody can be a part of. We have partnerships, we have outreach, we have engaged scholarship, we have curricular development. But in its truest form, it's the opportunity to be a part of the community and make sure that from the university standpoint, we are here for the public good. So it's not only accountability, but it's also our responsibility to make sure from a community engagement perspective that we provide that opportunity to the community to be engaged, but also our faculty, staff, and students to do that work as well. And as you said, we're a Carnegie classified institution. That means that we are the top of the top. Like, we're premier in that aspect. And the work that transcends across the university is made of nothing special but faculty, staff, and students and the work that we do in the community.
Yeah. I hope people are hearing that this is a world-class institution when it comes to community engagement. You know, I looked through all the questions submitted, and we had lots of questions for you, Douglas, about our position as a university on things like policing or even things like public school schedules, and asking what the university's position is on these issues. And listen, I appreciate that those are really important issues. And people often want us to speak about them. But I'm wondering for you, how is speaking out about an issue in the community different than engagement with the community? Yeah,
so just think about the partnership piece and the work that we do, and really providing the landscape of really pushing things through from a partnership standpoint. So what positionality holds weight, and it is important, for the university and the Office of Community Engagement, is to make sure that we're operating from the capacity of not necessarily positioning ourselves, but being a partner and supporting efforts that are occurring in the community itself. And through that, it's the action-based work that we can do. It's looking at the various aspects of the university and making sure that we're operating in a capacity where we're looking at our strategic partnerships, our signature partnerships. And there's a difference between the two. When you think about signature partnerships, these are place-based partnerships within the West End of Louisville. And really looking at the capacity and the work that we do within those areas and making sure that we're doing that work not only intentionally, but with information. with the ideal of getting the community voice involved to make sure that we understand those needs, but also utilizing the expertise. The university is rich with knowledge and expertise, individuals that really want to do phenomenal work. So the partnership piece is really what we focus on and pushing that forward like none other across the board. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. President Schatzel, I know you also often get asked to comment on issues.
So one of the things that's super interesting for us is the fact that when we take a look at the community partnerships, is to be able to support many of them that have been organic in nature, I guess is the best way to be able to describe it, where we've had faculty or staff or former students that have developed these partnerships that make great impact, but then also taking a look at how we can be able to really strategize in a different way with some key partners within the community. And a great example, and Doug has just led this effort in just an extraordinary way. You know, we've identified, for example, Goodwill. You know, they had the Opportunity Campus that they have. It is an operation that has so much resource and connection to the communities that we serve, that to be able to plug in with them, to be able to bring the resources and the expertise and the experience, but they provide what they provide, so we're partnering versus always kind of starting from scratch, really provides that we can do 1 + 1 = 10. And a great example during this legislative session was the fact that President Stivers had an interest to be able to talk with Dean Jacobs at our law school about providing legal services to refugee and immigrant groups, because there's a shortage of immigration lawyers, both nationally as well as locally. So these folks were not being able to get the support that they needed to move to either permanent residency or citizenship. So Doug talked, we had gone to Goodwill and met, he had conversations with their leadership team. They have a legal clinic that's there already. We already have our dental clinic there. So it was easy for us to be able to use their site physically, as well as to be able to leverage their connections that they already had. They were known within the community for legal services to provide it, to be able to create a partnership with them where we're going to be bringing immigration law services, and we were able to do it fast because of the fact that we could be able to partner with them to work that way. So I see those as more and more opportunities that we can partner with. You know, you can go faster alone and further together. So, you know, we've got some great partners. And part of community, and I think Doug will share this, is many of our partners, they're in that community. I mean, they understand that community, and we want to support their vision for what they want for their community, and be incredibly supportive of that.
100% agree. Yeah, I think it's important when you begin to look at community engagement in particularly. You don't want to have a duplication of efforts. You don't want to have competing efforts taking place for the betterment of the community. So partnerships such as Goodwill, our Dare to Care, our American Red Cross, our American Heart Association, they have a level of expertise that exists. We have a level of support that we can provide from our institutional knowledge. And when you put those things together and mend that gap, it's undefeated, 100%. So just piggybacking on what the president said, I want to say it's easy work, it's more so passion work. Because you're utilizing the passion and expertise of individuals for the greater good of the community and the university. So, you know.
Now, I know you are also in the middle of a strategic planning process and a self-study, and I'm wondering, what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so it's a lot of work, but it's a blessing in disguise as well. It's a good mix. It's not too often that you're able to put together a strategic plan, but also be doing a self-study of the work that should have been occurring over the past 5 years. So give a little background. Carnegie classification, it's a classification that you go through every 5 years. On this application, and you really have to be doing the work to make sure that you fulfill this application successfully. So our office is be our third time from the university putting forth on this application. We're undefeated. We're 2-0. We're gonna go 3-0. But within that, yeah, exactly. We got a winning record. But within that, it provides for us to see the work, 3 things. It shows the work that we've been doing well. It allows us to see where we may have had some missteps or may have backtracked. And then thirdly, it gives us a full view of what's going on across campus. And back to what you said earlier, many unsung heroes exist doing this work. You know, community engagement work is sometimes is a buzzword, but what it really is providing the opportunity for people to really utilize the work that not only they want to do, but the work that they feel they need to do, and connecting those dots. So the Carnegie study alone provides the opportunity for us to break down the different pockets of success that exist at the university, understand those things that we've done well, present them to Carnegie saying this is who we are, but also what our roadmap for success will be. A strategic plan allows us to connect those dots. So now we understand what we did well, what we need to improve on, but what can we do better and move in a different direction. So our strategic planning process is going extremely well. Similar to Lee and other colleagues, we had the chance to meet with Faculty Senate, Staff Senate, SGA. And the unique thing about community engagement, we have what we call our faculty liaisons. So we have a representative from each academic unit that helps put forth a community engagement plan. So each dean has a community engagement plan that their individual unit is responsible for pushing out. And that effort is led by our Director of Community Engagement, Dr. Henry Cunningham. So he really steams that. Yes. And what that is it builds these roadblocks of success so that we're integrated across campus around what's going on in different pockets and things of that nature. So the planning process is going well. We're able to marriage two components that traditionally don't happen at the same time. And I believe we're planting seeds to be fruitful as it relates to community engagement moving forward the next 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 years.
That's amazing.
And all this, I mean, we should give a shout out to all the faculty in terms of the service learning. And the students that participate in service learning. I got an opportunity to congratulate Dr. Cunningham for the award that he received this year from Kumu, which was their highest, most prestigious award in terms of the contributions that he's made. Kumu's near and dear to me because of the fact that I came from Towson University, and Kumu is the Coalition of Urban and Metropolitan Universities, very focused in terms of service learning and that engagement with the community. And Towson served as the headquarters and was one of the founders of Kumu. So, you know, I brought that DNA with me when I came here. And in fact, one of the reasons why University of Louisville was important to me was the fact that we share that commitment. And the students that come here want to be at an institution that values community engagement and they can participate in service learning, the faculty and the staff. So this is who we are, and just absolutely important to our identity as an institution.
I agree. It's in the fabric of the work that we do. So many people may know it, but we're designated as the urban institution for the state of Kentucky. This is who we are and what we do. We're just not limited to those parameters, but we have that unique ability to really focus on the urban side of the Commonwealth, particularly here in the city of Louisville. So that makes us unique already in pushing forward in the stuff that we're doing across the board. So.
Wow. Thank you, Doug. Also, don't get comfortable. I'm coming back to you in a minute.
Cool.
But I do want to move on to the next topic here. We had a lot of questions, President Schatzel, about leadership transitions and some of our searches for new leaders. People were especially interested in research and innovation and also human resources. So what can you tell us about those searches? Maybe any update on timelines?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So we currently have 2 searches that are going on that are reported to me in terms of the senior leadership team. One of them is the School of Medicine Dean, but also the Executive Vice President for Health Affairs. When Tony Gansel retired last year, even despite my efforts to convince her to stay. But we were very fortunate to have Jeff Bumpus come in, has done a fabulous job serving in this interim role. We've conducted a national search. We've used Korn Ferry as a search firm that we've engaged, who is widely known in that area to be able to do it. One of the first things that I asked them to do was to be able to do a scan to be able to inform what should this position be, because I learned that it was 2 positions, a School of Medicine Dean and an EVP of Health Affairs. I learned that it was a combined position. I learned in the past that it had been a School of Medicine Dean and a Vice President. So we had various versions of what this role was. And I wanted to make sure that we were understanding what we needed in the role, as well as position it so that it was be able to attract the best possible pool of candidates that we could. With the UofL Health being part, a cousin to us, let's say it that way. We're two separate organizations, but the number of research, clinical, and educational agreements that we have, and the kind of work that we do with each other, and the partnering across all of those aspects, provides the fact that that relationship is critical. So in taking a look at that, I really wanted to highlight the fact that we needed to have an executive vice president that would really, really have the opportunity to focus and lead and support his colleagues at the Health Sciences Campus and the Belknap Campus to be able to work very closely with the UofL Health to be able to support our clinical, educational, and research. So it will be an EVP position, and it will be third in line in terms of the campus itself. I'll be meeting with the finalists, I believe, next week. So we're bringing the finalists to campus. It's a tremendous pool. I want to thank the search committee as well as the provost for leading that. So we should be, my goal is to have that individual named pretty shortly. I mean, I definitely have somebody in place by the middle of the summer, if not sooner. And as I said, it's a great pool. So we're very, very excited about that. And we gave them the gift of a new building to be able to work on as well.
That's nice.
So that's an exciting to be able to have. Vice President of Human Resource, again, we're in the midst of the search to be able to do that. Angela Curry has been leading that search. We have the 10 finalists that are going to be identified, and then I'll be looking to be able to have the 4 finalists come to campus the end of May, that I'll be meeting with them individually to do that. And again, we should have that well underway to have the person selected and come to campus in, at least in the early part of the summer. But definitely having both of those positions in place before the fall semester starts, if not sooner. And again, great pool of candidates that we're able to have.
Yes.
I'm going to be waiting to make a decision in terms of a search for the fall in terms of the EVP IR, mostly because of the fact that now we have this summer, and I want to be able to, of course, have the faculty participate in that. So that will be the next thing to be able to focus on at that point in time.
Wonderful. Now, I also know that we have some changes coming up soon with our Board of Trustees, and I wondered if you would share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I sure can. So Mary Nixon and as well as Jim Rogers have served their duty and have stepped off the board. The governor has nominated and named 2 other appointments that are coming on board. I cannot thank Mary and Jim enough for their service to the university and what they have done over many, many years in terms of their leadership. As a new president, I have to tell you, you challenge a board when a new president comes on because the learning curve is huge. And you're new, and and you're trying to learn so much about the university, about the community, about practice, about areas of priority that they have. The generosity that both of them have shown to me as a new leader and as a new president is just something that I can't express the gratitude that I feel. They took me under their wing, introduced me to people, made sure that I made the connections that I had to, and provided outstanding counsel, not just to me, but to the senior leadership team. They always made themselves available, and I can tell you that they are Cardinals for life. Even though neither of them were alums, Mary's not an alum, and Jim as well. So but the dedication that they feel to those roles and to this community, they're always going to be Cardinals. I can say that. Larry Hayes is going to be joining us, and Chris Dissinger will be our new regents. I know Chris. So I've met him, and I know and many people know Larry. He's been involved with Democratic politics and served the governor and past governors and past elected leaders. So he's very familiar with the university. He actually was on the board, I think it's his second go around to be able to do that. And again, I am just thrilled to be able to talk with them and get to know them better. they're going to be fantastic in terms of their new roles as well, and we're looking forward to welcome the two new trustees to campus to join our board as well.
That is wonderful. Hopefully some of these new leaders will join you in a fireside chat at some point in the future.
We can be able to do
so
that.
that we can all get to know them better,
Yeah.
which would be wonderful. Do you think, or how do you think about leadership changes? Do you often think about it as an opportunity for maybe, recalibrating or moving in a new direction?
Yeah, I mean, I've said the fact that, and I talked about it from, we have a new provost, I'm a new president. We can take a look at the actions with the legislature in terms of the budget that we've had. 8 of our deans have less than 1 year experience, so we have a new cast of leaders and a new team that's developing. It provides for that opportunity, with the folks that I have and that have served in before, and we have a strategic plan to be able to really imagine and to be able to work with the community in terms of the university's future. And I can't say it enough, and I felt this when I was in Frankfurt, and you can see from the actions of Frankfurt, our future's bright. Yeah. This university is at an inflection point when you take a look at what's going on and the kind of support that we're receiving and the kind of partnerships that we're feeling within the community and across the Commonwealth. And I can't say enough about the partnership of Mayor Greenberg and how much that's meant to us, as well as I mentioned, President Stivers and Speaker Osborne. We are an economic engine to the state. We're a cultural engine to the state. I talk about all our graduates and the roles that they fill. We make a difference to Kentucky. And you can feel that we're in that inflection point, and I'm really excited to be able to be blessed with the opportunity to be part of this university and this community.
I love that. Thank you. We have time. I've tried to squeeze out a few minutes here for some of the live questions that may have come in during the hour. This is a very low technology. Laura has actually written some of them down for me on a piece of paper in her own handwriting. So want to ask you all a few of these, if you don't mind. Let's see here. The first question is about FAFSA. And so let me say, for folks who don't know, FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid that incoming college students fill out to receive financial aid. And there was, I don't know the whole story, there was some sort of streamlining effort that has caused troubles. Yeah. And where normally we would have had like 80% of college-bound students filling that out, it's nationally like much lower than that. The question is, to ask you to talk about that a little bit, and how is that affecting UofL and our anticipated fall enrollment?
So that's a great question. So, well, this is a national system that students who are college-bound fill this form out with their their families and their individuals' financial information that is then used as part of the determination of awards for financial aid and Pell Grants, et cetera, to be able to go across. So the form was changed and the system was changed, and let's just say that there were delays in terms of the processing of the forms, and when we would typically have received them, there were delays of several months to be able to issue them, plus the fact that there were some errors that when the processing happened, so they had to be reprocessed, and we had to be able to do a lot of work. I can't say enough about Jim McGanny and his team in terms of being able to not only work with that and the patience that they've shown, but also the outreach that they've provided across the board to do that. We've processed probably over 4,000 as we've received them out to be able to do that. We're one of the only universities in Kentucky that have moved quickly to be able to, when we get the information, we process, we give the award packages out as quickly as we possibly can. So we've made great progress just in the last 2, 3, 4 months, weeks to do that. We've moved the deadlines. People might have heard that we were moving the deadlines to be able to have contracts in place because of the fact that the students didn't have the information and we couldn't provide it with financial aid. So we've moved it, it's now a June 1st deadline to be able to do that. In taking a look at it, we're down in terms of contracts, but we expected that because of the fact that we're moving the deadline to do it and be able to provide the information. But as we are right now, we are online in terms of the enrollment that we're looking for in terms of the budget. In fact, we're up in terms of, we're up in terms of transfers and to do that. We're up in terms of housing. So we're confident in terms of what we're looking at in enrollment. But I can't tell you the fact that the work that's been done to be able to support it. You mentioned nationally. The number of students that have filled it out and what we're looking at it, it's a challenge. And some states are looking at 25% less because of the delays in terms of processing of FAFSA. And of course, these are students that are most vulnerable financially. So we're working very hard to not have that have an impact on both UofL as well as on Kentucky. We want to make sure that people that want to go to college and want to pursue their degrees, that we're working as quickly as possible for them to be able to know what resources we can provide to them financially to support that decision and their success.
Awesome. Boy, that's good to hear. Another question that came in is about campus climate surveys. Lee, you may want to help us with this one. So how are we using the information that we learn from campus climate surveys? I think those are every 2 years to support the university's efforts. And how are you all sharing with the campus community what we learn from those surveys?
Okay. First off, we will be releasing a survey very shortly by the fall, this coming fall, that Bob Goldstein is working on right now.
The results of the survey.
The results of the survey.
About 2 years ago.
Exactly, a couple of years ago. Frankly, we've got to do better. Transitions have been taking place. I think we know that. But ultimately, our goal in relation to surveys is to take that information. It's a snapshot in time, and then to put that information into action plans so that whatever the challenges are, whatever the information that we're gleaning from the survey, that we're responding to that and making sure that our response to that, to all groups across campus, that everyone becomes aware of it. You know, it's great to know where you're at, because then you can make the necessary changes in order to improve your climate and overall infrastructure of your university. So that's how we'll use it.
Wonderful. I think we can squeeze in one more question before the end here, and this is Lee and Douglas both. You both mentioned the development of strategic plans within your respective units. How do your plans align with the university's overall strategic plan? And any updates or any news about the overall strategic plan?
Yeah, I'll start. So the Connect pillar is made up of everything that community engagement does, from the number of partnerships we have, that's 300 to 400 partnerships, to the number of activities that we have here at the university, like 1,400 different community engagement activities across the board, all the way from our Carnegie classification, our membership institutions that we're a part of, like KUMU or ESC, the Engaged Scholarship Consortium. So our strategic plan was built off the shoulders of the university strategic plan. And within that, our goals for myself was built off into the strategic plan. And then as you trickle in the way down, my team's goals are built off the work that we're doing. So it trickles up and down all the way through to make sure that everyone's not only informed, but the work that we're doing connects literally throughout the strategic plan for the university side of the house as well. So I myself serve on the overall strategic plan committee for the university. And I believe Cherie Dawson-Edwards and her team, they're looking at ways that we're going to push out updates in regards to that. So everyone within the pillar has provided updates to the team that's supporting that work. And then the university will be updated, I think, fairly soon around those next steps.
And our strategic plan is directly connected to the university's strategic plan. And at the end of the day, everything about our strategic plan, including with the university's strategic plan, is to drive student success. And that's the most important thing that I think will come out of all of our strategic plans.
Yes. You all, thank you so much. We're at the end of our hour. It goes by fast, doesn't it? But this has been an incredible conversation. I want to thank all three of you for just sharing with us and just for the sense of communication and transparency. I want to thank all of you who are watching today And I want to tell you that each one of you really matters to this university. You know, here at UofL, we cherish the cardinal principle of noble purpose. And working here, working in a university setting where our goal is to make life better for people is a noble purpose, whether you're in a classroom, an administrative office, a lab, a clinic, taking care of the grounds, whatever role you play at UofL, it's a noble purpose. You make a difference, and I want to thank you. I know you're so appreciated by our president.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah,
Brian.
thank you.
You so much to everybody. You know, when we have commencement this Saturday, everybody that's watching this and everybody in this community, they contributed to the success of those students. That's most important.
Yes.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.